What is up, everybody? We are back. We had a little bit of a difficulty. I'll be totally transparent. My computer shut down. It crashed. So,
it wasn't my fault this time.
Not this time. So Jazz is innocent this time. It's all on my shoulders. So it was me. So we're back with Lawrence, and I have some fun editing to do after all this. But I would just, before we went boop, I was just sharing that with entrepreneurs, it's one thing that when you start your venture, you charge a price for your service. When you get really good at it, like Lawrence is, I'm sure Lawrence doesn't charge the same price he did when he started.
No, actually, there are a few that have been grandfathered, so they are very, very, very lucky. I just, honestly, they've been with me since the beginning, and I've increased them, but they're nowhere near where everyone else is, and they appreciate that. I honestly respect the loyalty that they've shown me in helping me get to where I am. So.
Cool. Yeah, I tell people all the time in business coaching that it's not about lowering your price. It's about you increasing your value. So if there's a discrepancy in what people are willing to pay or you being able to attract your customer, that's your responsibility to look and see where you need to either increase the value, increase the way that you communicate the value, or be okay with recognizing that if people don't want to pay for what you're worth, they're not your ideal clientele. So, yeah. Yep.
Lawrence, let me ask another interesting conversation piece with you. These days, what percentage of your business is referral compared, because when you started off, you had to grind. You said at the beginning of our conversation you still have to grind, but what percentage of your business now is referral?
Well, it's some people don't like to disclose how they came to find me. And honestly, sometimes I forget to ask. So I would say, if I'm being realistic with the number or the amount, I'd probably say I'm up 40%, maybe close to 50%. Nice. And it's part why I don't actually pay for advertising.
Don't need to.
I'm pretty deliberate with my social media and what I put out and how I put things out, in enticing people as to why they'd want to use me. But then also, I make sure the level of service that I get and I give people that they're going to want to refer me. And I'm very appreciative of the people that do.
Excellent. Jazz?
Delivering excellence, that's a huge factor. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's and why are they going to choose me over someone else? And I find it really interesting, before I really was more deliberate with the branding and the marketing I was putting out in my current phase of the business as going through and doing business branding consultations. People, I'd probably go as far as saying 90% of my clients are people that are starting a business, changing their career, or have something they want to announce. And it's not, there are some people that just come for a fun shoot. They want to do a boudoir shoot or something else. But the core are people that have something they want to share with the world. And they come to me and they don't realize, at first why, but it's because of what I do to help promote and really understanding them and their needs and helping them to craft that image that helps to communicate that. So in my branding, I've done that in a very, in a low-key way that is not hammering them over the head with it. But from time to time, I do be very direct and very blunt and deliberate with my message about that. But most of it is, it's not very salesy. So they don't feel like they've been sold when, we do business or we first speak.
Nice. Jazz?
No, I think that just as I really appreciate, and I can only imagine what your consultations seem like, because even the little snippet that you gave us earlier in the show, but just kind of the sources for really just valuable tips and secrets in growing and branding have been excellent, as far as even on this receiving end, not being in photography, but feeling like I have some things that I can apply. So I definitely appreciate you being open and willing to share kind of how you navigated from where you started to this point.
Well, I came up with an acronym and, of a way of being, and it's HOT. And, people are like, good, Lawrence, you're hot. But it's really, it's honest, open, and transparent.
Like
so that people really, in sharing myself, but again, in being able to connect, they know that and they feel that when they're dealing with me. So I think that's, it's very important. And, and so with my social media, I started sharing more about myself and I like to do and my interests, not just my work, so that it really helps to make that connection with people.
I know you've probably had challenging shoots in your journey. Could you just highlight one of the challenging shoots that you had to overcome?
Well, you know what? There have been a few, and these are things that, every situation is a learning opportunity. And one I think I learned the most from was I had an Asian family coming for a portrait session in my studio. Now, my studio is located in the basement of a salon. So I emphasize on, it's not where the magic happens, it's just the fact the magic happened. So, but at the time, I didn't really think about that. I thought just, hey, I do great work. It doesn't matter where I do it. But the important thing was I had to let people know that ahead of time. So the family comes in. I met the daughter at an event I was doing. So she said, hey, they just had a baby and they wanted to do a family portrait. They had family over in from China. If we could, all come together. I'm like, sure, come down to the studio. There's 12 of them in total.
Wow.
And they came. It was after hours, but at the time the shop was closed. So upstairs it was vacant. We came to in the basement. Everyone comes in, files in, but the dad stops at the door. Then we got down the stairs, put his hand behind his back, and he wasn't taking another step forward. He stood at the door and looked in and had this look like, where have they brought me?
Wow.
And so she said, don't worry about my dad. So we start shooting. Now, part of my process, when you take the pictures, you get to see it in real time. So then you have an idea of what it's going through. Instead of taking a bunch of pictures and then I send you the link and then later you say, I don't like the pictures. You know right then and there if you like them or not. So the dad sees the pictures on the screen and then the smile, and he ventures in to get closer as he's seeing the screen. He pushes everyone out of the way to see the screen, and it was good. So I realized how important it is for people, and I can't assume they all know what my work is before they come to the studio. I need to make sure that I've communicated with them what my process is and have an idea of what the quality or the level of work that I produce beforehand, or it's going to be a nightmare. Because, I had another lady came in and she wanted to be completely airbrushed. I don't do that type of editing myself.
Right.
That's something I may send out, but I take pictures that look like you. I'll clean them up a little bit, with blemishes and whatnot, but I'm not taking 20 pounds off your picture. If that's not that if you need that, I'm not your photographer.
Right.
Quite honestly, because when people see you, you're going to look like the picture. They'll be able to recognize you. You won't be a different individual altogether. So it's really important in, communicating, but, letting them know really and having an idea of what their expectations are and managing them from the beginning is really important.
So for young people, especially African heritage people who want to, or best people who want to get into this business, what are some things that you would say these are things you should do because you have evaluated experience? So what sort of suggestion or tips would you be willing to give out right now?
Well, one, it's funny. I just I taught a class earlier this year, so I had 4 students, high school students, come through the program.
Right.
And really to understand, yourself first, so that you know what you're comfortable with. You're going to be in situations where you're, different people, different ethnic groups or whatnot, but to have an idea of who you want to work with and what that process will look like. Don't get caught up in the technical side of things and the equipment, the gear trap. Like, oh, there's a new camera, I need to get that, or there's a new lens or anything else. The best camera you have is the one that you have. Don't worry about everything else. You'll get there. Some of the best images I've ever taken are my old point and shoot camera that I have. as far as ones that I like and people have responded to. So don't get caught up in that, and then take time to learn. It's a never-ending process, and that's one thing you have to know in getting into this into photography. As equipment change and technology changes, you're going to have to continually upgrade.
Excellent. Well, we lost Jazz for a second, but we've got her back.
Hey, there I am.
Good stuff. No problem. So, Jazz, do you have any other final questions, comments for Lawrence before we let him go?
No, I don't really. I think that he's been extremely thorough and, again, just very concise and giving us a lot of great tips that apply to those who are behind the camera like himself, and even those who are building and growing their brand on the other side of the camera using services. So I just thank you for the insight that you've offered tonight. And I know we've had some crazy technical difficulties, but you stuck it out like a champ. So I appreciate that as well.
Lawrence, before we let you go, if I'm a consumer and I'm looking for a good photographer, whether it's you or someone else, are there some core questions they should ask that photographer?
Absolutely. To get an idea of their process, again, so, you're not waiting for a year to get your pictures, how long it will take for them to turn around, to get a sample of their work that they've done, current, and some of their past work as well. And so if there's a particular type that photo that you want, if they have something like it that they could show you. But then also, to get an idea of comparatively, not necessarily from the technical side of things that the cameras that they're using, but again about the process is really important. Don't get caught up in if they don't have the latest camera, but really an understanding of their training and education that they've had. So whether they're self-taught or anything else, having an idea of where how they learned what they know.
Yeah, I feel like a photographer is like a good doctor or a good mechanic. Like when you find a good photographer, you kind of have to stick with them, because to me, it's about who can make you feel naturally comfortable in front of that camera, and who can bring out the elements that you have in your personality that you want to be able to showcase through a picture. Because even though, me in my field, I am constantly in front of people, I'm actually very camera shy. So being able to find a photographer that allows you to kind of bring down some of those guards and feel comfortable, that's bigger than anybody who can tell you accolades and achievements and things for days. So yeah, I think that's a huge element, is to see their work, and then who's going to represent, who's going to be able to represent you through the photo, but that takes somebody willing to connect with you. So yeah, absolutely.
And that point you made there is right on point, because when you look at it, it's not about making you look beautiful, it's making you feel beautiful. And once that you hit that on you make that connection, everything else falls from there. So if they're uncomfortable being in front of the lens or whatnot, that knowing that they're feeling it, it translates into pictures. So that's really, really important.
All right. Well, that is another epic conversation we do, called Stuff That's On most Wednesday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Ms. Jazz Keys, free of technical. Well, she did have a technical challenge this week.
I know. I just couldn't get through one show without it, right?
And
that's
myself.
What I get for bragging.
Be careful. Be careful. Don't hate on Dr. Vibe. You see what happens? I'm telling you.
I know.
Well, Lawrence, again, I'd like to thank you for taking time from your positive productive schedule to share with us. You're welcome back anytime you want to come back on. If people want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Well, the website and the mobile app is at Lawrence Kerr Photography. You can get the app at the Play Store and the Google apps as well. And the website, lawrencekerrphotography.com, and Lawrence Kerr Photography is the Instagram page.
Excellent. Jazz, how can people contact you?
I am available on all social media at Jazz Keys, JAZZKEYS. My website, www.jazzkeys.com. Pretty easy to find. Name is pretty simple to remember. Jazz Keys on all social media platforms.
There you go. And that's Keys, E-S, not S, right?
Right.
Yes.
K-E-Y-E-S.
There you go.
Sir.
There you go. Well, I've got the most to say, but I'm getting it down real tight. So, first of all, thanks for everyone watching live or on the replay, and especially if you tolerated this live, you deserve a gold star, big time. Now, You can if you want to listen to my epic conversations like this one with Jazz via audio, you can go to my website, www.thedrvibeshow.com. You can also listen at Apple Podcasts. Sorry, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music Store. There's also iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher Radio. You can watch replays of these type of conversations on my YouTube channel, which is the _Vibe show. I am also a certified empowerment coach, and if you'd like a complimentary empowerment session at the Dr. Vibe, which some people in England last week have now signed up for, you can catch me at DRVIBESHOW on Twitter. That's a Twitter handle. Email me again, dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com, or you can fill out the contact page on my website. Also know I am a brand ambassador for the only online magazine dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and travel, Cuisine Noir Mag.com. That's Cuisine Noir Magazine. Also, new service opportunity I just launched because I got to raise enough shekels to pay some time for Lawrence Kerr. It's long overdue. It's called Getting Media Coverage. And what I do is I help entrepreneurs and businesses get media coverage so they can elevate their business and their sales.
Nice.
So that is just onboarded the second client yesterday. So that is very, very good news. So follow up with 3 last things. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. And also sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. God willing, with no technical challenges, we'll be back again next week on this epic show called Stuff. International conversations with a black lady and a black man with our POV included. God bless. Peace be well and keep the faith.